Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back KS family. I often get the question, how do I spot potential winners? The answer to this question is not as simple as it may seem. You need the foundations, you need the context of the market. You need to be able to enhance and recognize patterns inside the market. But before you buy or sell, you must master emotional control. Sometimes I'm really busy, so I will look at Bitcoin first. I need to get an understanding of how the main markets are impacting Bitcoin. The SP 500 futures, when overlaid with Bitcoin, can give a directional bias. A lot of people don't think there's any correlation between the main markets and Bitcoin. You can see here, there's quite a good correlation. The key is to stack probabilities. The second thing is, what does this actually mean? You can see the SP 500 continuing to recover. What does that mean? It means that the potential for bullish price action is on the cards. Then I look at the chart through the CTKS method, trying to understand where smart money is buying and selling. I've recently introduced the end of month or periodic targets. These are formed by understanding the CTKS method. Right now, we see a slight bullish bias towards Bitcoin towards the end of the month. Given what we're seeing in the SP 500 futures and given what we're seeing in the targeting analysis, it's possible that Bitcoin could end around the 33,000 mark by the end of the month. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but it's good looking at the moment. The at the moment part of what I just said is really important. Always remember that you control the trade or investment, but it's the market that controls the return. We can't force the market, unfortunately, to give us what we want. The market will never know us. I asked the question yesterday inside the comments, what percentage do you think your success is due to knowledge and experience, mindset, and luck? And they should all add up to 100%. Art said about 49% knowledge, 50% mindset, and 1% luck. Tiana said 50% mindset and 50% knowledge and experience, and 0% luck. Nice one, Tiana. Crypto Turtle said 70% knowledge and experience, 28% mindset, and 2% luck. Gabriel said knowledge and experience 70%, mindset 29.9%, and luck 0.1%. Built to Spill 70% knowledge and experience, mindset 29%, and luck 1%. And Built to Spill had a really nice comment. I'm always on the lookout for military trucker hats while I'm out and about. When I spot one, I get the chance to confess my gratitude to a veteran for their service. That's a really beautiful thing. Edwin's very deep into active learning, and look at Edwin go. Well done, my friend. Edwin says 49.5% knowledge and experience, mindset 49.5%, and luck 1%. You're getting a good indication here. If you think that trading and investing is the majority about luck, it's not quite the case. Another part of looking for winners is to be grateful and to focus on the elements of positive excellence. Getting your mindset correct, as you've seen through the comments, is really, really important. Making a list of things that you're grateful for is a wonderful idea. Thank you, Jen. Starting with the simple things. And the list can become endless. Now, we've prepped our mindset. We've got our mindset relaxed as well. That's very, very important. You don't want fear to take over. If you've got fear of missing out, FOMO, or fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, you're on the wrong side of both fears. The next thing you want to do is to understand where the smart money is buying and selling. Bitcoin is currently 29,417, but it's coming up to this smart money sell area between 29,957 and 30,166. We can see that this level has been obeyed in the past. When we look down and try to find the support area inside the market, we can see it's ranging from $27,843 to $28,038. This has also been respected. The question is, which side is more likely? We already have a bit of an understanding because of the SP 500 futures pointing upwards. We also want to think in terms of the retail mindset. What is retail looking at? Retail typically doesn't know about Stanfield lines and Stanfield zones, or the SLs and SCs. They are formed through the CTKS method. Understanding retail psychology is all about looking at recent indicative price. Retail always zooms in on what is price doing right now. They're not really concerned with what price has done in the past, especially what it's done from the start of price history. They'll be looking at the market like this. They'll say there's a resistance line here. This is now the most important resistance line in Bitcoin. That, of course, is not the case. This particular resistance has been in play for about 14 days, so around 2 weeks. Let's put this into context. The ledger on Bitcoin was started on the 3rd of January 2009, with the initial release on the 9th of January 2009. Let's take January the 3rd as Bitcoin's initial date. What does it mean? It means that about 5,229 days ago, Bitcoin was created. Let's do a quick percentage. That trend line was formed over the past 14 days. We know that Bitcoin has been trading for around 5,229 days. What is the percentage? How do we get a percentage? We just multiply that by 100. Is that a big percentage? Should we just say 0.3%? Or it's literally 1/4%, just a little bit over. So 1/4% dictates all of Bitcoin's price action. What we're effectively saying is this trend line drawn from approximately 1/4% of Bitcoin's price history cannot be that strong. But you will see time after time people on soapboxes saying this is the most important line in Bitcoin's price history. It is not. And I hope I gave you the skills that you can figure it out for yourself as well. Everything that I do is all about knowledge transfer. Professionals know these particular percentages and they make sure they're on the right side of them. What we're looking at here is we understand there's a bullish bias on Bitcoin at the moment. We know that this is 1/4% of price history in terms of a resistance line. It's not that strong. But the resistance line from 29,957 to 30,166 is much stronger. It's a smart money sell level. Smart money sell levels are typically hidden inside of market structure. It's important to add context now. We're doing layer after layer. We can see that the Bitcoin shorts are getting more bold and they're coming in at pretty much the wrong time, because as the SP 500 goes up, there's more risk on behavior. So we can see the longs starting to come back into the market as well. It's likely that the shorts may get liquidated in a spike. It's also important to contextualize what's happening in main markets. We can see the Nasdaq coming up. We can see the SP 500 futures coming up. We saw a decline in risk through the VIX. This means that people are getting really optimistic. The VIX has been at an incredibly low level. In fact, the VIX hasn't seen this lower reading in 539 days. What does this actually mean? It means that we need to be a little bit cautious because the VIX is a very spiky thing to get involved with. You'll need to understand the interplay of bond prices and bond yields, how the DXY impacts the major indices, how gold is a flight to safety, what the impact of oil is, the put-call ratio, and junk bonds and high-yield corporate debt, how it all plays together. All of this information is inside the masterclass, but it's important you gain that comprehensive knowledge however you can. Then we need to look at the top 8 cryptos. We can see Bitcoin's price action is looking quite constructive. It's overcoming this level of resistance. But we know this is very short term, but we are actually looking at a short-term perspective. We want to get an understanding of relativity and gravity. From a relativity perspective, we can see Ethereum is currently weaker than Bitcoin. I pointed out yesterday on Twitter there was a very strange thing happening with BNB. There was a lot of risk-off sentiment. This was not the way the markets were going. BNB was inverting Bitcoin at this stage. That didn't look quite what we want to see. We have to be aware of how the other cryptos play into this space. And I'm going to go through wallets and decentralized exchanges, as well as centralized exchanges as well. XRP looking quite nice, closing the gap. When you have wide percentage gaps, that can be a very, very interesting thing to keep your eye on. ADA has been very strong recently. You can notice this gap is not significant, especially when compared to Doge. What about Matic? Matic has quite a gap. Solana is looking really, really strong at the moment. Solana can be a very strong project. Because of the weakness in BNB, let's have a look at centralized exchanges. We can see BNB starting to recover. This is what we want to see. What about Leo starting to recover? You can see that the centralized exchanges had a bit of negative price momentum. Not all of them, but some of them. And BNB starting to recover as the world's largest centralized exchange. That's really important. Something that we must keep our eye on. What about OKB? Just maintaining a decent gap between itself and Bitcoin's price history. CRO starting to go up very nicely, something to keep in mind. What about KuCoin, KCS? Just a decent gap. Gate token, a very indecent gap. That's a lot of gap here. And we can see as BNB sold down, what happened to Gate token? It showed and exhibited weakness. This could be something to keep on your radar. We can see that Wu is just closing the gap. It's not exhibited any weakness at the moment. And FTT has been exhibiting weakness, but starting to bottom out as well. You'll notice up to now we haven't even looked at the news. You want to get a bit of a picture, a bit of a context overall in the market. We can see Bitcoin's come down a little. Ethereum has come down more. Tether, USDC, they're stable coins, so we just don't worry too much about them. But BNB has been heavily hit. XRP looking quite good, and ADA coming down. Also, looking at the greatest gainers is a very, very good idea. We can see ICP, the greatest gainer at the moment, but it's not really up a lot. Solana coming up, nipping at the heels of ICP. Cake doing a little bit of a turnaround. There was a big dump in Cake recently. CRO coming up. We just saw that. DYDX, Render, and XRP. Going the other way, what do we see as the greatest losers? Again, they're not really that great. Fracshare taking out pole position, followed by Injective, Carver, Stacks, Immutable X, Arbitrum, ARB, and Rocket Pool. I find it's also really good to look at crypto bubbles, trying to understand what the particular tokens are doing. Masterclass students, refer back to LV21, BORSOG Secrets plus the new signal chart. The BORSOG Secrets is the one that you want to look at. And to do BORSOGing, you need all of the understanding and knowledge inside the masterclass. At this stage, we start to look through the news. Robinhood launches fiat to crypto on-ramp for self-custody wallets and dApps. Wallets. Another news story, Phantom Wallet CEO explains why wallets must move to multi-chain. Some news about wallets. People read the news and give it their attention, so we must give it our attention as well. When we look at ICP, the number one in the wallet space, it's doing not too badly. What about Trust Wallet? Trust Wallet is basing out. We might see some pretty interesting stuff. What about LRC? And one thing to always keep in mind, what is Bitcoin's gravitational pull doing to that specific alt? Make sure you understand that. There's a lot in it. 1inch, the fourth largest wallet. And what about SXP? SXP has just been basing out. Could it explode again? Quite potentially. We talked about ICP exploding. It did so. What about SafePal, SFP? SafePal just getting over that resistance. Quite nice looking actually. What about Coin98, C98, getting above that resistance also? What about Phantom? Getting above resistance just slightly. It's got a bit of a gap to fill. When we talk about gap fills in crypto, we're talking about relative differences in the performance of the alt versus Bitcoin. In the crypto market, when you get a flight into wallets, it's typically because Bitcoin is coming down. Just keep your eyes on these associations, these groups. They're very important to understand. Some more news. 7 popular tools and frameworks for developing AI applications. Ooh, AI. AI is undoubtedly the new gold rush. What is the number one? That's the graph, GRT. We can see GRT relative to Bitcoin's gravity is relatively suppressed. That could be interesting. What about Render token? Render is absolutely going bananas. It's doing so much more strength. It has so much more strength than what Bitcoin does. It's outperforming it by orders of magnitude. Injective protocol coming up and realigning, just typically closing that gap. It could be interesting. AGIX, bit of a gap here, could be interesting. Rose, Fetch AI, Ocean, and RLC. It's good to look at the relative gravitational pressure that Bitcoin is throwing on a particular alt. This is all part of your pattern recognition. You must understand patterns and how they play out. When we look at centralized exchanges, it's good to look at their counterparty, which is the DEX or the decentralized exchanges. Going from the top to the bottom, you can see Uni, XLM, or Stellar. Uni doesn't have much of a gap. It's just been following Bitcoin's gravitational bias. But Stellar does have a positive gap in terms if we got into Stellar and things went well, that gap should be closed and exceeded. This is what we talk about when the weak becomes strong. It can go the other way. The strong can become very weak also, and we always see that. What about Curve? Another DEX. Synthetics, another DEX. And it looks to be turning around right now. There's a lot of potential turnarounds. Which turnaround is better? This CRV turnaround, because we look at just that recent indicative price. Yes, we're being retail, but it's important to do that. You must layer it into your strategy and how you think. The markets are not just about ourselves. It's about our anticipation of what others are doing. How does the pattern in CRV compare to the pattern in synthetics, SNX? Please let me know in the comments. What about Cake? Cake was very, very heavily hit, and when you were buying Cake as it came down, you would be just laughing because Cake has come back up. This is called getting on the right side of the percentage. You can be on the wrong side of the trade, but on the right side of the percentage, and you'll do really, really well. What about LRC? On LRC, you can see this weakness gap forming. You have weakness gaps or strength gaps. Remember, the strong become weak and the weak become strong. Look at Rune, a weakness gap in here, 1 inch, a weakness gap. I just invented the term weakness gap because I want a way of explaining things to you. That is really, really simple. If we go back to AI and we look at Render token, this is a strength gap. What do we know about strength and weakness? Please let me know in the comments. It's part of your active learning. Active learning, as you can see, is incredibly important. One thing, before you buy and sell, and before you've actually identified all the correct patterns, you must know what zone you're in. If you're in the panic zone, you'll just be pushed around by your fear. Say no to fear. Say get lost fear, because fear just costs so much in so many ways. You need a lot of courage to move into the blame zone. That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But it's true. When you've finished panicking, you say, well, it can't be me. It's got to be something outside of me. That's just normal behavior. Everybody goes through these 4 stages. They're the 4 stages that every single investor and trader progresses through. If you're looking outside yourself, you're looking in the wrong place. This is life as well. Therefore, when we get away from zone 1, which is panic, zone 2, which is conflict, blame, jealousy, all those really highly toxic and negative emotions. And this is all about how you lose money. You may have diamond hands, but you'll have a hell of a time holding on, and emotional turmoil at the same time. But when you learn, when you go through so many losses that it just slaps you across the face and says, hey, wake up, don't you think you need to do something different? Perhaps learning. That is the process of diamondization, becoming a diamond. When you have patience and a lot of rules, when you either learn or win and never blame, never ever blame. If you blame, you're disempowering yourselves and you're empowering others. Don't do that. Empower yourself by learning. Understanding that three-way decision making, how percentages work. I showed you one illustration of how a resistance line, a little more than 0.25% of Bitcoin's history, is not something that you would say is so strong it can't be broken. The percentages also indicate strength gaps and weakness gaps. There are so many rules that need to be understood to stay and get into Zone 3. But Zone 4 is where you want to live. Zone 3, you can make money. Zone 4 is where you keep it. There's many people who make a lot of money, but if you can't keep the money, what is the point? The focus inside our community is to help people to become more of a financial and emotional blessing to themselves and those they love. Now that you formed a bit of a picture, we need to go back to Bitcoin and look at the SLs and SZs. We can see that if Bitcoin manages to bypass this level of smart money sell resistance, which will basically peter out at about 30,170, the next area of resistance, smart money resistance, and it's not a particularly great resistance, is between 32,196 and 32,309. With this context established, we need to understand what is the lowest risk, highest yield probability of getting into a specific alt in the right group. You need a lot of knowledge to perform well inside any financial market, but Masterclass students, you may like to revisit LV21. Please let me know in the comments what particular groups or what particular cryptos interest you in today's video. You could be focused on the top 8. You could be seeking a recovery in centralized exchanges. You might be focusing on wallets. You may find AI and big data the place to be. Or you may be considering DEXs or something else. Please let me know in the comments which of these groups, and groups are really important to understand, which group are you most interested in at the moment, and just pick one out of that group and let me know why you picked that one. As you saw in the comments from yesterday's video, positive excellence is really important. If you go and pick something that doesn't go in the direction that you anticipate, it's important that you must be kind to yourself. Because it's not going in the right direction at the moment doesn't mean it won't go in the right direction in the future. It depends on your holding period. Focusing on learning humility and patience is very important. It does take a lot of persistence and commitment to be successful at anything in life. Unfortunately, society has turned to an instant gratification mode, and that's a pretty dumb mode for us to live in. Only persistence, commitment, dedication, that's what takes us towards success. Instant gratification takes us towards a ditch. Many people said that mindset was about 50% of their success in life. And when you think about it, it is correct. Knowledge will only take you so far. Mindset will take you the rest of the way. If you'd like to see a really good show about mindset, you might like to watch We Crashed. Jared Leto and Anne Hathaway are just incredible actors, bringing the WeWork story to the small screen. And if you were wondering, is WeWork still working? Yes, it is. And you can see all their different global locations all around the world. If you like business, or you like the growth mindset, it's a fantastic series to watch. Always remember, better habits create a better life. And as all results come from the mind, a better mind creates better outcomes. That's why part of your analysis on what you get into or out of inside the market, and it doesn't matter if it's crypto, the stock market, forex, commodities, it's irrelevant. They're all the same thing. Prime your mind for success, and that's why I put together the CTKS Creed. If you have a negative mindset and you're expecting positive results, you probably won't get it unless you get lucky. When we zoom out and think about anything that we are truly successful in, luck plays very, very little part in it. The harder you work, the luckier you get, because realistically, there's no luck except the luck you create from your own hard work. I hope this is as an active learning exercise today. Please let me know, what area of your life are you most successful in? It could be your relationships, your work. It could be a hobby. It could be trading, investing. It could be anything. Please let me know what area that is. Just zero in to one or two areas that you feel that you've been most successful in. And then think about the subconscious habits that created that success. And please share those. As a community, we're always lifting each other up. Your comment could change another person's life. And that's what we're all about as a global family. We're all about being more of a increased financial and emotional blessing to ourselves and those we love. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.